Julius Caesar stood at the prow of his flagship, the salt-laden wind whipping through his hair. Britannia receded into the distance, conquered land, its defiant tribes now mere echoes on the horizon. His fleet cut through the turbulent waters, bound for Gaul. Victory awaited, as did the familiar shores of his conquered territories. Yet, as Gaul's coast loomed closer, a sense of unease began to creep into his thoughts. The landscape was not as he had left it. As the ships drew nearer, Caesar's keen eyes scanned the countryside. Smoke curled into the sky from charred fields and broken villages. The once thriving land lay in ruins. His heart sank. This was not the Gaul he remembered. Disembarking, Caesar was met by a group of local Gauls, their faces etched with terror. One, a weathered man with haunted eyes, stepped forward. "Hail, Caesar," the man said, bowing low. "We are glad you have returned, but the land is not as you left it. The undead have risen, and they march towards Rome itself." Caesar's eyes narrowed. "The undead? What madness do you speak of?" The man trembled. It began as a whisper, a legend of the restless dead. But then they came, a horde of soulless corpses, destroying everything in their path. Our homes, our families, all gone. Caesar's mind raced. He had faced many foes, but this was something different, something beyond the mortal realm. He turned to his legions, his voice a commanding presence over the chaos. "Legions, prepare to march. We will not let this scourge reach Rome. We are the defenders of the Republic, and we will purge this evil from our lands." The soldiers, battle-hardened and loyal, responded with a roar of determination. Caesar organized his 3 legions, their formation a testament to Roman discipline and strength. They set out through the devastated countryside, disciplined force moving through chaos. The march through Gaul was fraught with obstacles. The roads, once clear and well-maintained, were now overrun with debris and treacherous to navigate. The remnants of fallen trees and ruined buildings slowed their progress, but the legions pressed on, undeterred. As they moved deeper into the heart of Gaul, the true horror of the situation revealed itself. They encountered villages where the dead roamed, their eyes lifeless, their bodies animated by some dark force. Caesar's men fought bravely, their swords cleaving through decayed flesh. But for every undead they cut down, more seemed to rise in its place. One night, as they camped near the ruins of a once thriving town, Caesar gathered his centurions. Maps were spread out, and the flickering firelight cast long shadows on their grim faces. "We must find the source of this plague," Caesar said, his voice resolute. "Only by understanding it can we hope to stop it." A centurion spoke up. "There are rumors, Caesar, of a dark priest who has harnessed forbidden magic. They say he resides in the ancient forest to the east, beyond the old ruins of Elysia." Caesar nodded. "Then that is where we will go. We will march at first light." The journey to the forest was arduous. The terrain grew wilder, and the sense of dread deepened with each step. The soldiers' nerves were tested by constant attacks from roving bands of the undead. Yet, Caesar's presence and unyielding determination inspired them to press on. At last, they reached the edge of the forest. It stood like a dark sentinel, ancient and foreboding. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and an unnatural silence hung over the place. "Stay close," Caesar ordered, leading the way into the shadowy depths. As they ventured deeper, the trees seemed to close in around them, their twisted branches forming a labyrinth. The undead attacked from the shadows, their groans echoing through the forest. The legions fought with unmatched skill and bravery, their formation holding strong despite the relentless assaults. Finally, they emerged into a clearing. At its center stood a crumbling temple, its stones etched with ancient, malevolent symbols. A figure clad in dark robes stood before it, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. "Caesar," the dark priest hissed, his voice like the rustling of dry leaves. "You cannot stop what has been set in motion." Caesar stepped forward, his sword gleaming in the pale light. "We will see about that." The battle that ensued was fierce and desperate. The dark priest summoned waves of undead, but Caesar and his legions fought with the fury of men who knew the fate of Rome hung in the balance. With each strike, Caesar drew closer to the priest, his resolve unbreakable. Finally, with a powerful swing of his sword, Caesar struck down the dark priest. The priest crumpled to the ground, his lifeless eyes staring into the void. Caesar turned, expecting to see the undead falter and fall. But to his horror, they continued to fight with undiminished ferocity. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The death of the priest had not ended the curse. As the legions continued to battle the relentless undead, Caesar stood amidst the chaos, his mind racing for a solution. The threat was far from over, and the true source of this dark plague remained a mystery. "We must regroup," he shouted to his centurions. "There is more at work here than a single sorcerer. We need to find the true source of this evil." With grim determination, Caesar led his legions out of the forest, the undead still pursuing them. The fight was far from over, but Caesar was not one to surrender to despair. He would find a way to save his people, no matter the cost. The march back through Gaul was a desperate struggle for survival, the undead relentless in their pursuit. Caesar knew he needed more than just military might to defeat this threat. He needed wisdom, strategy, and perhaps a touch of the very magic that had brought this curse upon them. As they reached the outskirts of the forest, Caesar looked back at his weary but steadfast legions. "We will find the source," he vowed. "We will end this plague. Rome will stand, as it always has." The battle against the undead had only just begun, and Caesar knew that the road ahead would be long and perilous. But he was Julius Caesar, and he would not rest until the land was free from this dark blight.